Okay, anyway, we will start. Uh, so today we will be discussing about the second tagmata of insect, that is thorax. We have completed the uh, head, the first tagmata, that is the insect head. We are moving on to the second tagmata, that is thorax. The thorax, as you have studied during the general organization of insect body, it is having three segments. So the three segments, if you see the picture of it, picture of a generalized insect, you can see this is the head, this is the thorax, this entire region, and this is the abdomen. And the thorax is having three segments. The anteriormost segment is called as the prothorax. The middle segment is called as the mesothorax, and the posterior segment is called as the metathorax. I will repeat again. The thorax is having three segments, 1, 2, and 3. The anteriormost segment is the prothorax, the middle segment is the mesothorax, and the posteriormost segment is the metathorax. So here all the three segments, pro, meso, and metathorax, are having a pair of legs each. You can see it is viewed from one side. That's why only one legs are shown. The other side will have the other pair of legs. So each segment, pro, meso, and metathorax, having one pair of legs each. That means totally three pairs of legs. That is six legs. And the meso and metathorax is having a pair of wings each. While wings are absent in prothorax, meso and metathorax are having a pair of wings each. This is the mesothoracic wings are called as forewings, and the metathoracic wings are called as the hind wings. These are the forewings and these are the hind wings. Again, we have a pair of wings in the meso and metathorax. As meso and metathorax are having wings, combinedly meso and metathorax is called as pterothorax. Ptera means wing. Ptera. So it's called as pterothorax because meso and metathorax bears the wings. So this is what it looks like. The anterior most segment is called as the prothorax, middle is called as the mesothorax, and the posterior one is the metathorax. And all the three segments, the major function of thorax is locomotion. That means it has legs. All the three segments are having legs, so can run or walk or jump or anything. While the meso and metathorax, which is having wings, it aids in the flight. So there are wings as well as legs, both aids in the locomotion. Hence, the major function of thorax is locomotion. And as the meso and metathorax bears wings, they are called as pterothorax. Another typical feature with pterothorax is wings. The flight requires high energy. We were discussing about locust in most of the classes during these last few days, and we were discussing that locusts can fly over long distance up to 150 kilometer per day. And if one has to fly over 150 kilometers per day, that insect should have well developed muscles. And all these muscles are located in the pterothorax. That means the thoracic segments which carry the wings. So they have well developed muscles. And I will discuss one thing about the insect body. If you are taking an insect body as such, the dorsal part of the insect body, this region, the topmost portion, the dorsal region of the insect body is called as tergum. Tergum is singular and terga is plural. That if you see the notes, uh, you can clearly see what is the singular and plural. At the dorsal part of the insect body is called as tergum. The ventral region, that is the underside of the insect body, this is called as sternum, and the lateral side, this is called as pleuron. It's not actually called as pleuron or called as tergum or called as sternum. It is actually this insect body is sclerotized. The dorsal part of the insect body is sclerotized into a different plate-like structure. The lateral part of the insect body is sclerotized, hardened into another plate-like structure, and ventral part of the insect body is sclerotized into another plate-like structure. So there will be a sclerite at the top, that will be a hardened plate-like structure. There will be a sclerite at the lateral side, and there will be sclerite at the ventral side. So this is how normally a body is organized. So that is the case of generally in the case of an insect body. In the case of thorax, the dorsal sclerite or the tergum is also called as notum, N-O-T-U-M. So the dorsal sclerite of the insect body is also called as notum. Yeah, it can be also called as tergum, but in thorax it is specifically called as notum. The ventral sclerite, that's the same in all insects, it is sternum. And in the lateral sclerites, lateral means there are two sclerites on both the sides. Dorsal tergum and sternum will be one each, and the pleuron will be, we have two in number, pleura. So one on the left side and one on the right side. So we have notum, sternum, and pleura. Notum on the dorsal side, sternum on the pleural side, and sternum on the ventral side, and the pleura on the lateral side. So if the tergum, if you are describing the tergum or the notum of the prothoracic region, we call it as pronotum. If you are describing the uh, dorsal sclerite in the mesothoracic segment, we call it as mesonotum or mesotergum. And if you are discussing about the dorsal area of the metathoracic segment, we call it as metanotum. Likewise, the sterna of prothoracic segment is called as prosternum. Sterna of mesothoracic segment is called as the mesosternum, and the ventral area of the metathoracic segment is called as metasternum. The same way, propleuron, mesopleuron, and metapleuron represent prothorax, mesothorax, and metathorax respectively. So, the dorsal part of the thorax is called as terga or notum. Ventral part, it is having a sclerite called as sterna, and the lateral part we have pleura. If the dorsal sclerite and the prothorax is called as pronotum, mesothorax called as mesonotum, and metathorax called as metanotum. And in the ventral sclerite, the prothoracic sternum is called as prosternum, mesothoracic sternum is called as mesosternum, and the metathoracic sternum is called as metasternum. Likewise, propleuron, mesopleuron, and metapleuron. So this is called as the sclerites of the thorax, because sclerites of the thorax is extremely hardened, because these are meant for locomotion. Lot of strength is needed for this stigmata, because the body wall should be extremely thick and hardened, so that the wings can be attached to it. Wings has to be moved. It has to have enough strength. Legs are attached to the thorax. It should have enough strength. That's why the sclerites in the thorax is heavily thickened, heavily sclerotized, and that's why we have discussed about its sclerites, dorsal, ventral, and lateral sclerites of thorax. So this is how a general organization of thoracic segment looks like. The dorsal region, it's the notum. The lateral, both sides, we have the pleura, and the ventral sclerite is called as the sternum. And you can see the wing over here. Wings are attached to the dorsolateral part of the thorax. Wings are on the ventrolateral area. This is the ventral area. This is the lateral area. The legs are attached over here. Wings are on the dorsolateral area. So this is the wings which are attached to the margins between notum and the pleura. Okay, this is another picture. These are the sclerites, pronotum, mesonotum, and metanotum. These are prothorax, mesothorax, and metathorax. The sclerites, now you can see the hardened plates. These are individual plates. So that's why this pronotum, mesonotum, and metanotum. And this is the prosternum, metasternum, and mesosternum, and metasternum. And Here it is the lateral side, we have toppleuron, mesopleuron and metapleuron. From here onwards, this is the abdomen. So this is how the thorax, the sclerites and all are arranged. Now we will move on to the first appendage of leg. We have two appendages, legs and wings. Today we will discuss about legs. First we will discuss about the basic structure of an insect leg, and then we will discuss about the modifications, just like we have discussed about the modifications of insect leg, modifications of antennae. So the basic structure of insect leg consists of 6 segments. The first segment is the coxa. The second segment is called as the trochanter. Third segment is the femur. Fourth segment is tibia. Fifth is tarsus. And the last segment is pretarsus. So the leg consists of 6 segments: coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, tarsus, and pretarsus. So this is the basic structure. So this is coxa. This is a stout segment. This is small, but it is a stout segment. Trochanter, this is an extremely small segment. Femur, it is the largest and thickest segment of insect leg. We can consider femur as the thigh of our leg. Just if you take our leg, thighs are the largest and strongest part. All the muscles are located in the thighs. In the same manner, most of the muscles of insect leg is located in the femur. Tibia is the longest segment. That means it is elongated, slender. And this entire length, this is the tarsal segment. And tarsal segments are not a single segment. Just like we had discussed about flagellum of antennae, it is having number of segments, and these segments are called as tarsomeres. And at the tip of the tarsal segment, we have the pretarsus. We'll discuss about pretarsus later. So the basal segment is the coxa. It is short, but it is thick. That you can see it over here. It is short as well as thick. But trochanter is very small in nature. Femur, it is largest and strongest part of the insect leg. It is having all the muscles for movement of the legs. Tibia, it is slender and long. And tarsus, it is considered number of segments, and these segments are called as tarsomeres. At the tip of the tarsus, we have pretarsus. So this is the basic structure of leg. Remember, in your record, you have to write, draw and write about the basic structure of the leg and the different modifications of insect leg. This is another picture. Coxa, this is short, but it is thick. Trochanter, it is extremely small. Femur, it is large. Tibia, it is slender. We have tarsal segments. At the tip, we have pretarsus. Coming to the modifications of insect leg. The first modification is called a saltatorial legs. Saltatorial legs. This legs is seen in the hind legs of grasshoppers. One thing you have to remember is that if you discuss about any modification, I told you, you have to write about the examples. But when we are discussing about legs and wings, we should write specifically which leg or which wing is modified. Here in the case of grasshoppers, only the hind legs are, or the metathoracic legs are modified as saltatorial. The other two, forelegs and midlegs, are not at all modified as saltatorial. They are modified into another kind of modification. That's the next one that we will discuss. So these legs are adapted for leaping and jumping. നമ്മുടെ മലയാളത്തിൽ ഗ്രാസ് ഹോപ്പേഴ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് പച്ചത്തുള്ളെന്നാണ്. തുള്ളുക എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ചാടുക എന്നാണ്. So that function, that leaping and jumping function, is enabled by the saltatorial legs. If you see the saltatorial leg, see it over here. This is the picture of the locust we were discussing several times. And see, this is the foreleg, this is the hind leg. See, there is not much modification in the foreleg and hind leg, but foreleg and mid leg. See the hind leg. So this is the coxa, this small one is the trochanter, and see the femur. The femur is extremely enlarged. The femur is large in size and it consists of muscles because it has two gems, while the tibia is elongate. And all what you see is the tarsus. So coxa, trochanter, and the femur of the hind leg is extremely enlarged, consists of muscles, and this is the tibia, and the tip of the tibia we have the tarsal segment. And the forelegs and hind legs, the tibia is not foreleg and mid leg. The tibia is not femur is not enlarged, so it's not modified into for saltatorial purpose or jumping purpose. So it is adapted for leaping and jumping. The femur is enlarged and occupy large muscles which helps the insect to jump. And the example is hind legs of grasshoppers and crickets. You can catch hold of a grasshopper and observe the legs, mouth parts, etc. So this is how, when you are drawing this picture as slight correction over here, you should draw a small trochanter over here. It should be it should be divided. Here it's not divided. This picture is not correct. It should have been, this should be coxa, and here it should have been a trochanter. And the femur, it is extremely enlarged. Tibia is elongate, and these are the tarsals. And coming to the next modification, that is ambulatorial leg. This is walking leg, simple walking purpose. The examples are fore and mid legs of grasshoppers. I told you in the previous saltatorial modification, the hind legs are modified for jumping purpose. But the fore and mid legs, in the picture we have seen that the femur is almost normal in size. So it's not used for jumping, it's used for walking purpose. And if you see the picture, you can see this is the femur, this is the tibia. Both are elongate in nature, long. It's not thick. The femur here, it is extremely large. Here it is elongate in nature. See it over here. The femur is elongate. Femur and tibia are elongate. This is used for walking. So the ambulatorial legs, it is called as the walking legs. Femur and tibia are long. The examples are fore and mid legs of grasshoppers. See, you can see the femur is not enlarged. And the next one is cursorial legs. Cursorial legs is used for running. Ambulatorial legs is used for walking, and cursorial legs are used for running. Here the example is cockroach. All the three pairs of legs of cockroach is modified for running purpose. You can see in the night, during night, you can see cockroaches running over the kitchen, storehouses, etc. So it needs a running kind of legs. So the legs are modified as cursorial legs. Here the femur is extremely slender compared to the femur in the case of ambulatorial legs. If you check the diagrams of ambulatorial and cursorial legs, only difference is that the femur is extremely slender in nature compared to the ambulatorial legs. In cursorial legs, femur is slender, and you can see the grasshopper legs. See, this is coxa, this is trochanter, this is femur, this is coxa, here it is trochanter, this is femur, this is slender, and tibia, again it is slender, and at the tip we have tarsus. So, coxa, trochanter, femur, which is slender, and there are tibia and tarsus, and the femur is slender in nature. That is a typical feature of cursorial legs, which is seen in all the pairs of legs of cockroaches. Coming to the next modification, raptorial legs. Raptorial legs. This is commonly seen in this insect. I think all of you have seen this insect. That is praying mantis. And you can see the forelegs of praying mantis. Don't see the hind and mid legs. It is not modified. But the forelegs of praying mantis. See the femur. The femur is extremely enlarged, and this purpose of femur is to grasp its predators. It feeds on other insects, smaller insects. So what it will do is, this is femur, this is tibia. Again, we see numerous spines in femur and tibia, and as the tibia is folded over the femur, it can grasp the predator and it can feed. So it's not actually praying. We normally say that നമ്മൾ എന്താണ് പറയാ ഇത് പ്രാർത്ഥിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് കൈയൊക്കെ മടക്കി പ്രാർത്ഥിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് എന്നാണ് പറയുക പക്ഷേ it's not actually praying. The purpose of folding of these legs is to catch hold of its prey. So for that purpose femur is enlarged and it is having numerous spines. So here you can see the numerous spines. The femur is enlarged. So this is with respect to raptorial legs. The only leg modified in praying mantis are the forelegs. So this is raptorial legs. Next one is fossorial. Fossorial means digging kind of legs. This is mainly a modification which is seen in insects which are soil dwelling. മണ്ണില് കുഴിച്ചുണ്ടാക്കുന്ന കുഴി ഉണ്ടാക്കി പോകുന്ന ഇൻസെക്ട്സിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ളതാണ്. So I think you might have seen this insect at least sometimes in your home during night. ചീവീടാണെന്നൊക്കെ പറയും. This is called a small cricket. This insect is called a small cricket. Mole means അത് തുരങ്കം ഉണ്ടാക്കി പോകുന്നതിനാണ് മോൾ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. If you have നിങ്ങള് ചാരന്മാർക്ക് phosphorus is another common term, another synonym used is moles, MOLE. അത് ചാരന്മാർക്ക് മോൾ എന്ന് പറയാൻ കാരണം എന്താന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മണ്ണിന്റെ അടിയിൽ ഇരിക്കുന്ന പോലെ തുരങ്കം ഉണ്ടാക്കി പോകാൻ കഴിവുണ്ട് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലെയാണ് അതിന്റെ. So see the modifications of the forelegs of this mole cricket. See the tip of the foreleg, it is having numerous spines over here. With these numerous spines, it can dig the soil and it can move into the soil. So this kind of modification is called as fossorial legs. So if you see this fossorial leg, this is coxa, this is trochanter, and the femur is stout and enlarged, and this is tibia, and the tibia is having numerous spines. And in some insects, if you see it over here, this is coxa, trochanter, femur, which is enlarged and stout, tibia is having spines, and the first tarsal segment, the tarsal segment which is attached to tibia, that tarsal segment is called as basitarsus. I will repeat again. The first tarsal segment that is attached to tibia, that is called as basitarsus. That means the basal tarsal segment, basitarsus. So the tarsal segments may also have spine-like projection. That is in some insects, but normally the tibia is having spine-like projections. So coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia as well as tarsus both are having spines over here. The tibia is having spines, the tarsus is also having spines. So the femur is stout that I told you, tibia with tooth-like projections, and in some insects, basitarsus, the first tarsal segment is also having the tooth-like projection seen in forelegs of mole cricket. This is the foreleg of mole cricket, you can see it over here. Coming to the next one, natatorial legs. And this is adapted for swimming. See, when we are discussing about different modifications, I told you in the antenna modifications also, why insects are having too many modifications. The insects, these kind of modifications enables the insect to occupy diverse habitat. The mole cricket is having a fossorial leg. This fossorial leg enables to dig deep into the soil. But human beings, with its kind of a normal kind of legs and hand, it cannot dwell inside the soil. Normally, without the use of any implement, a human cannot dig the soil. It is pretty difficult. So these kind of modifications, the fossorial legs, it helps the insects to occupy the ground. And natatorial legs, the legs are modified for swimming. So that means it can occupy the aquatic habitat. So the dominance of insect is because one reason for it is diverse modification of its different body parts. The body parts are modified, different kinds of modifications are there, and these modifications enable to occupy different habitats and to survive different obstacles. So the natatorial legs, Seen in aquatic insects, it is used for swimming, adapted for swimming. I will show a typical insect. Has any one of you seen an insect like this? This is a bug. Don't think it is a beetle. This is a bug. Has anyone seen this insect? Anyone? Usually it comes to light at the during the monsoon time. Check it over there, especially those houses which are closer to uh, paddy land, wetlands and all. And don't look into the forelegs and hind legs. These are modified. These are not modified for swimming. Swimming. Only the hind legs. See the hind legs. This is the femur, this is the tibia, and this is the tarsus. And you can see all the segments. So femur, tibia, and tarsus are broadened and flattened. The femur, tibia, and the basal tarsal segment. The basal tarsal segment of the hind leg are broadened and flattened for swimming purpose. നിങ്ങൾ പങ്കായം കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? The oars used for boating. So these oars are flattened. പങ്കായം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ പരന്നാണ് ഇരിക്കുന്നത് for paddling. So in the same manner, the femur, tibia, and the basic tarsal segment are broadened and flattened, and this is used for swimming purpose. And these segments, the basic tarsal segments, have dense, long hairs that is seen over here. You can see here also the trochanter is missing. You can draw a trochanter over here. The femur is broad, flattened. Tibia, it is broad, flattened. The basic tarsal, mainly the basic tarsal segment is broad and flattened, where it is having long hairs. So hind femur, tibia, and basic tarsal are broad, flattened with dense, long hairs. And the insect which I have shown you, this is called as giant water bugs. This is extremely big in size. See the size. If you see the palm, it occupies almost the entire length of the palm. It's extremely big. So it is called as the giant water bug. The hind legs of giant water bug is modified for swimming. That is natatory legs. Coming to the next modification, basket-like legs. How many of you have caught a dragonfly and made it to lift a stone, small stone pieces? നമ്മൾ തുമ്പിയെ കൊണ്ട് കല്ലെടുപ്പിക്കുക എന്ന് പറയുന്ന ഒരു ഇത് ചിലപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ ചെറുപ്പത്തിൽ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടോ? So how many of you did that? If you did that, you might remember how it holds these legs. All the legs, the three pairs of legs can form a basket beneath the thorax, and with that basket kind of legs, it can lift anything. We usually ask them to make them to lift small piece of stones, but mainly it is used to capture the prey while it is flying. See this dragonfly. See these legs. These legs form a basket kind of thing, all the three pairs, and it can catch the prey. So this basket kind of modification is which we utilize them to play with them to pick the stones. So this is the basket forming legs which is seen in all the pairs of legs of dragonflies. And the last modification is in the case of honeybees. In honeybees, we have all the three pairs of legs modified differently. The forelegs is modified for one kind, the middle legs are modified for another purpose, and the hind legs are extremely modified for another purpose. So foreleg, mid leg, and hind leg, these are extremely modified. See, I will show it one by one. See the foreleg. This is the foreleg, this is the mid leg, and this is the hind leg. See, in the foreleg, this is coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, and tarsal. This is the first tarsal segment, that is the basic tarsal segment. And see, at the tip of the tibia, we have a tibial spur. I think, do you remember it? The term spur. When we discussed about cuticular appendages, we had discussed about spur. At the tip of the tibia, we have a spur, and at the basic tarsal segment, the proximal part of the basic tarsal segment has a semicircular notch. So what will happen is that here I will draw it over here. See, I am drawing the picture of a tibial spur. So it will be like this. See, this is the spur. The shape of the spur is not clear in this picture. That's why I have drawn it over here. So this is how the spur looks like. It is also called as velum or fibula. The spur on the tibia is also called as velum, or sometimes it is called as fibula. You can just remember it is having a spur. And you can see the tarsal, basic tarsal segment is having a semicircular notch. This is the semicircular notch. So the insect can press this spur into this semicircular notch. What the honeybees do with this is, uh, we have studied the honeybees helps in pollination. So the honeybee, the entire body is covered with numerous hairs. You can see all the legs over here. These all legs are covered with hairs. The antennae is also covered with hairs. So once the insect visits a flower, all the pollen grains in the flowers will stick onto the body parts, all including the antennae. So what the insect will do is, it will keep its antennae inside this semicircular notch, and it will it will close the semicircular notch with spur, and it will draw the antennae through this semicircular notch. While it draws the antennae through this semicircular notch, while the spur is pressed into the semicircular notch, it will remove all the pollen grains attached to the antennae. So this modification is used for antenna cleaning purpose, and the foreleg of honeybees is for antenna cleaning, the cleaning of antennae. I think it is clear. I will describe it again. ഇവിടെ ഒരു കുഴി പോലെയുണ്ട്. ആ കുഴി അടയ്ക്കാനായിട്ട് ഒരു നീണ്ട സ്പർ ഉണ്ട്. ആ സ്പറിന് ആ കുഴി അടയ്ക്കുന്ന രീതിയിൽ ഒരു ഭാഗവും കൂടി ഉണ്ട്. ഈ ആന്റിന ഈ ഭാഗത്ത് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഇത് വെച്ച് അങ്ങ് അടയ്ക്കും, ക്ലോസ് ചെയ്യും. എന്നിട്ട് ഈ ആന്റിന വലിച്ചങ്ങ് എടുക്കും ഇതിൽ കൂടെ. So by that time, the entire antenna will be clean, removed of all the pollen grains. So that is the first modification, that is antenna cleaning modification in the forelegs of honeybees. In the mid leg, we have tibia is having a single spine. It's actually, though it is written as spur, actually it is a spine. In the notes, it is clear. It is possesses a spine. And the purpose of this spine is to remove wax. See, I told you honeybees secrete wax. Honeybees have wax glands which can produce wax. These wax glands are located on the ventral surface of the abdomen. That means the sterna of the abdomen. And the ventral surface of the abdomen will have wax particles. So what this spine on the tibia, what it will do is, it will, with this spine, it will pick up the wax which is attached to the ventral surface of the abdomen. On the under surface of the abdomen, the insect will secrete wax, and with this small spine, it can pick the wax. So this modification, it is called as wax picking modification. The first leg is modified for cleaning the antennae. The second leg is modified for picking wax. That modification is called as wax picking leg. And the third pair of leg is highly modified, extremely modified. This is modified for carrying the pollen grains. So that is extremely modified. You can see this is the coxa, femur, tibia, coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, and the tarsal. This enlarged one is the basic tarsal. And between the tibia and the basic tarsal segment, we have a gap over here, and this gap is called as pollen press. I will repeat, it is pollen press. The purpose of this is to press the pollen grains into small balls. So the tibia and the basic tarsal segment. Between the tibia and basic tarsal segment, we have the pollen press, and in the pollen press, the surface, the tibial part is having numerous hairs. You can see it over here. The hairs in the tibia, and these hairs in the tibia are called as pecten. You can see it as it is written as pecten. The hairs in the pollen grain, which is attached to tibia, that is called as the pecten. And the basic tarsal segment, which is a small projection, that projection is called as auricle. So between tibia and the basic tarsal segment, we have a pollen press, and inside the pollen press, the tibia is having hair-like pecten, and the basic tarsal segment is having a small projection, lobe-like projection called as auricle, and the basic tarsal segment is having numerous rows of hairs. You can see this is one row of hairs, this is second row of hairs, this is third row of hairs, this is fourth row, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. So we have several rows of hairs. These are numerous hairs arranged in rows. The purpose of these hairs is to remove the pollen grains stuck or attached to the body parts. So it's a comb-like structure. It has hairs which can remove the pollen grains from the insect body, and hence it is called as pollen comb. And the tibia is having a groove-like structure on the outer surface of the leg, and there is a groove-like structure. That groove-like structure on the outer surface of the tibia is used for holding the pollen grains while the honeybees fly back towards the comb. നമ്മൾ ഇൻസെക്ട് ഈ ഹെയർസ് വെച്ച് ബോഡിയിലുള്ള പൊള്ളൻ മുഴുവൻ എടുത്തു, ഈ ഹെയർ പൊള്ളൻ ഇതിന്റെ അകത്ത് വെച്ച് പ്രസ് ചെയ്ത് അതിനൊരു ഉണ്ടയാക്കി. ഈ ഉണ്ടയാക്കിയ പൊള്ളൻ ഗ്രെയിൻസിനെ, ഇത് ലെഗ്സിന്റെ ഇൻസൈഡ് പാർട്ടാണ്. ഇതിന്റെ ഔട്ട്സൈഡ് പാർട്ടില്, the outside part of the leg is having a concave surface. It is having a concave surface, and into the concave surface all the pollen grains will be loaded. And this concave surface on the outer surface of the hind tibia, that is called as pollen basket. The basket which carries the pollen, all the pollen. And this pollen basket, it is also called as corbicula. I will show how the carry. See it over here. This is from a picture taken from the posterior side of the honeybee. See, what you see it as a growth over the leg. This is a ball of pollen grains. See the quantum of pollen grains carried by honeybee. All the pollen, the body is completely covered with hairs. The hairs having numerous pollen grains attached to it, and all these pollen grains, it is brushed using pollen comb, pressed with the pollen press, and it is attached to the pollen basket, which is on the outer side of the hind tibia. And the insect, the honeybee, flies back to the honeycomb. So I will show the picture again how it looks like. See the foreleg, antenna cleaning leg. You can see the semicircular notch. See the tibial spur. Antenna will be kept over here. It will be closed with the tibial spur. Antenna will be pulled out and it will be cleaned. And here is the hind leg. Here you can see this concave surface over here, small depression in the hind tibia. And this is the pollen basket. It is also called as corbicula. This is the pollen press. You can see hairs over here, that is pecten. This is the auricle. And I told you here you cannot see the pollen comb because pollen comb is on the inner side of the leg. Here we are seeing the outer side. That's why we can observe the pollen basket or corbicula. But the pollen comb we cannot observe. Pollen basket, pollen comb is on the basic tarsal, but on the inner surface of the basic tarsal segment. So the forelegs of honeybee is modified as antenna cleaning, and the tibia, which is having a spur, and the first tarsal segment is having a semicircular notch. The tibial spur is also called as velum or fibula. The middle leg is used for wax picking. It has a spine which removes wax from the ventral side of the abdomen, And it is, this spine is also used for loosening the pollen from the basket. You can see it is thickly packed. This pollen is thickly packed in this pollen basket, and once it flies back to the honeycomb, തേനീച്ചക്കൂട്ടിലേക്ക് തിരിച്ച് പറന്നു എന്ന് കഴിയുമ്പോൾ ഈ ക്ലോസ് ആയിട്ട് ഭയങ്കര തിക്കായിട്ട് പാക്ക് ചെയ്ത് പൊള്ളൻ ഗ്രെയിൻസിനെ വീണ്ടും തിരിച്ചെടുത്ത് അതിന്റെ കുഞ്ഞുങ്ങൾക്ക് കൊടുക്കണം. So for that picking purpose, it uses the spines in the mid legs, the wax picking spines in this mid leg. And the basal segment is tarsal segment is having numerous hairs. That's with almost all the body parts. In hind legs, the outer surface of the tibia, which is large, it is having a groove called as, it is concave in nature, it is having a groove called as pollen basket or orbicula. Remember these terms. And between tibia and tarsus, we have a pollen press, and in the pollen press, the tibia is having bristles called as pecten, and the tarsi has a small plate-like structure called auricle. And we have a row of hairs of spines on the inner side of the basic tarsus, that is called as the pollen comb. Is it clear? This is usually asked in exam, how the legs of honeybees are modified. Is it clear? Okay, I'll show the video, the last yesterday what I showed you, then it will be more. This is another picture. This is picture, you can draw it in your practical record. This is clear. And the next modification is the clinging or scansorial legs. This is seen in head loss. നമ്മുടെ പേനിലാണ് കാണുന്നത്, തലയിലിരിക്കുന്ന പേൻ. Usually we say that പേൻ തലയിലേക്ക് പറ്റി പിടിച്ചിരിക്കുക എന്നാണ് പറയുക. So the way it clings to the body, that is because of this modification of a leg, and that is called as clinging or scansorial body. With this kind of modification, it clings on to our body. And I will show you, this is the tibia. Tibia is stout and it has a thumb-like projection. You can see a thumb-like projection. You can see it over here. This is the tibia. It is having a thumb-like projection at the tip of the thumb, which is having a spine. And this is tibia, tarsus, and the pretarsus. The tibia, tarsus, and the pretarsus. So what it will do is, with this pretarsus, it presses against this thumb-like projection on the tibia. നമ്മൾ നുള്ളുന്ന പോലെ, നമ്മളുടെ തള്ളവിരലും ചൂണ്ടുവിരലും വെച്ച് നമ്മൾ നുള്ളി പിടിക്കില്ലേ, കുട്ടികളൊക്കെ പിച്ചുക എന്ന് പറയുന്നു, എന്ന പോലെയാണിത്. So this thumb-like projection is on the tibia, and we have the tarsal and the pretarsal claw, and this pretarsal claw will press against this thumb-like projection on the tibia and clings on to the body. So the tibia is having a thumb-like process, and it has one spine at the end. The tarsal, we have a tarsal pretarsal claw. There is a claw on the pretarsal segment. The tarsal and the thumb-like process on the tibia will press against the pretarsus to cling on to the body. And all the three pairs of legs in head louse is modified into clinging or scansorial legs. So here tibia is having a thumb-like process with a spine, and the pretarsal which is having a claw. The tibia and the pretarsus press against to cling on to the body. So all three pairs of legs. So this is extremely clear. This is tibia, this is tarsus, and this is the pretarsal claw. And you can see the spine on the thumb-like process over the tibia. So both this tarsal claw and this thumb-like projection, this press together to hold on to the body. This is the picture. All the three pairs of legs are modified. Here you can see the thumb-like projection, and in the spine and the tarsal claw. Coming to the last part of this class, that is the last segment, that is pretarsus and its modification. I told you the insect leg is having 6 segments: coxa, trochanter, femur, tibia, tarsus, and the pretarsus. That is the distal segment of the insect leg. And this pretarsus is having, see this picture. This is the last tarsal segment, and at the tip of the tarsal segment we have pretarsus, and actually the pretarsus consists of 2 claws. You can see the claws, and between these 2 claws we have a pad-like structure called as areolaeum. So pretarsus consists of two claws, and in between these two claws, we have a pad-like structure called as areolaeum. And these two claws, this we call it as tarsal claw or pretarsal claws. These pretarsal claws are attached to the tarsal segment via a sclerite called as auxilia. So a pretarsus consists of a pair of claws, and between these claws it has a pad like areolaeum, and at the base of this claws we have a sclerite called as auxilia. And we will discuss about a slight modification in houseflies in the case of pretarsus. Here you can see the tarsal claw, you can see the auxilia, but between the tarsal claw and the auxilia we have a pad like structure called as pulvillus. So we have tarsal claw which is attached to the auxilia, but between the tarsal claw and the auxilia we have a pad-like structure called as auxilia, and in between this tarsal claw we have an elongated bristle-like structure. The areolaeum is modified into an elongate bristle-like structure called as embodium. Embodium. So between the tarsal claw, the areolaeum is modified into an elongated bristle-like structure called embodium. So the tip of the tarsal bears group of structures called pretarsus. It mainly consists of a pair of claws, and between the claws we have an areolaeum, and the tarsal claws are attached to small sclerites called as auxilia. In Diptera, that's what I call as houseflies. The two lobes so-called pulvillae are there between auxilia and the tarsal claw, and the areolaeum is replaced with the bristle-like embodium. So I am stopping it over here. If you have any doubts, you can ask. So today is the lowest attendance during this morphology class. It's hardly 60 persons. Why low attendance? But anyway, this part is a bit simple compared to if we once we complete the head portion, the thorax and thorax, the leg modification and the wing modification, all of them are pretty simple. So I think I can complete it my portion, the morphology portion, with two classes. The next two classes, Monday and Tuesday. Monday I will take. Tomorrow and day after tomorrow I won't be taking any classes. So Monday and Tuesday. Monday we will discuss about wings and its modification, and on Tuesday we will discuss about abdomen. Abdomen is pretty simple. So any doubts? Okay. If you don't have any doubts, I'm stopping it over here. Thank you.